with our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
We President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the alternative digital etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop, and smart TVs. As we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative TikTok.
Tutuusaawo kwetonda munnange ebyuma by'omuzungu olumu byekyanga negamba nedda nga temwagala kukola kirala ate ne bibyakyanga mutufunyemuko obuzibu bunnange kwe kuvaako ku mpewo katono nnyo nenne tukomawo tubagamba we are sorry naye ng'ate kati ekizibu tukiresolvinze tuliko bulungi nnyo ate natwegattako genda ku Facebook, the page is the Alternative Uganda, like the page and then follow us. Ogenda kubanga otufuna every day every when we get live munnange saawa ebeeremu ey'okumakya mpaka saawa 3 tubanga tukomenkereza n'omugenyi waffe ow'olunaku gwe tuba tuli naye ku olwo obudde olwaleero tulina omusomi w'e Makerere omwami akola mateeka omwami Abbas Luyombo. He is a visually impaired person but he is a law student, third year law student of Makerere University. He is the guild representative of the School of Law of the University of Makerere and he served as the representative wa cabinet of the 8th cabinet of the Ivory Tower nga akolanga minister wa justice and ku Makerere University. He's an excellent person. When you look at him you might think he's an ordinary person. You might think he's just this ordinary person. You would and someone would wonder, anyone can do law and they can represent the School of Law. They can still be guild representatives. What is special about him is that he is a visually impaired person, but he's very intelligent and brilliant. He actually got 20 points at A level and 10 points at O level. You could imagine the person we have in the studios being visually impaired with that excellent performance. Munange, he's a good orator. Onyumirwa okuwuliza omuntu ayogera. He is a good orator and a good debater. You would really want to listen to him as he's talking. Tojja kukowa. So banaffe abatanatwegattako page eri the Alternative Uganda. Genda ku Facebook yo teeka mu search engine the Alternative Uganda to liking then following omale onyegene ka notification awo ka notification wabera waka simbo kalinga akakade buli bwe twakozanga edda mu primary nga obakubira ogenda mu break oba lunch. So ono kanyigako kagenda kubanga kakuwa notifications every when munnange jilwe tubanga tuli live ku makya buli lunaku ebeera saawa emu mpaka saawa 3. Olwaleero ndi mu studios ne Lilian Luwedde oza obabuze kakensuso then twanize omugenyi waffe mu butongole yatusedda mu studios ababuzeeko.
Abalaba Mighty Drive nyongera okubabuuzaako amanya nze Lilian Luwedde era nga omwami Abbas Luyombo omugenyi waffe olwaleero yatutuuseeko dda agenda kuba tubuuzaako n'oluvannyuma tugende maaso. A very good morning to you, Mr. Abbas. You're most welcome on the Mighty Drive.
Good morning, everyone viewing us. Thank God for today again, and we pray that we may continue surviving and living and following His ways as He wishes. I'm happy to be here, and yeah, it's a great moment. Thank you.
omwami ndowooza mumuwulidde bulungi so bannaffe abatanatwegattako era nziramu bagamba page eridde Alternative Uganda on your Facebook. Genda mu search engine teekamu the Alternative Uganda, like the page and then follow us. Discussion ogenda kubanga ogifuna bulungi nnyo mpaka eri gye tunaaba tukomenkereza. We would want you to have a story to tell. So agenda kubanga atubulira story ye and how he has maneuvered through life with him being visually impaired. Munange so gwe aliko any kind of disability ng'owulira tolina confidence owulira ensi ekulemye. I think you would need hope from a bus. So tukugamba bugambi beerako oba yita n'omulala abeereko someone obanga olina omuntu atalina confidence alina any disability on them, they need hope. Bannange mugambe bugambi teekako omuyite awulirize abeere nti afunamu kahopo ako oba okuzibwamu essuubi. Yes, afunemu n'ekyokuyiga omuntu gwe tuyina wano eno. We hope nti is going to inspire thousands of people that are there that have lost hope lw'ensonga nti maybe they encountered an accident through their way to growing up and ebirooto byabwe ne bifa. So we hope you people are going to get to learn a few things from Abbas. Oba muje mufune muko n'essuubi. Tugenda kufuula tuwuliriza story ye from when he started or when we yafunira obuzibe buno obuzibu obwamutuusaako okubeera nti ali blind mpaka watandise watambudde mu bulamu kusoma his education life and up to university nti how he has managed to make it.
He even scored the 20 points at A level.
So Mwami Abbas, are you comfortable with the Luganda or English? Any of them. Okay, tugenda tukozesa Luganda. N'oluzungu tujatabikamuko katini nnyo. So twagala omuntu yandyagadde okumanya, would you please tell our viewers obuzibu buno, were you born with it?
No, saali nabwo, but when twali tukula as a result of child play, mizannyo gy'abaana.
Yes.
That sparked everything because it was a child play with a number of friends of mine betuzanya nabo. So suddenly you could play with stones. So I was stoned with one, but then the stone caused the eye pressure, which eye pressure then caused all the effects that finally came up. Because we had thought it was a smaller thing when it happened. I was taken to a clinic, we got some treatment, but then the effect continued. By the time we realized it was an eye pressure, go in to different hospitals, carried out some surgeries, but realized it was a pressure and it had created a very big effect. Kati neshibanga kizibu, neshibanga it had to continue like that. Nishigenda maso, but then I had to continue with studying.
That was around what age?
I think I was around 7, 8
years.
Yes, 7, 8, 9 there.
Oh. So after there, how did you continue going to school?
Yeah,
or it affected you for some years?
I think my parents did some research very fast. And the school was found, so I continued going to school and to finish my academics. Of course it affected a bit my primary, that my concentration and all that to catch up very fast. It doesn't come easily in a year. Neyongere n'okusoma and I finished my P7 in Mukono.
Was it a school for these normal
students? Yeah, it was an inclusive school.
Oh.
It was an inclusive school.
So it catered for people with disabilities?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So
which school is that? Someone would love to know.
It's called Salama. So when I finished, I joined Igange SS in senior 1, and I was at Igange SS from senior 1 to senior 6. I did there my senior 4. Then I went back Nenkola senior 5. On senior 5, I had joined the MasterCard scholarship. And when I did senior 5, I had done history, literature, divinity, ICT. From there, after passing senior 6, I came here and did pre-entries for...
Before we enter Makerere University, around senior 6, we know literature involves reading a lot of books, novels.
Yeah.
How did you manage? Were you people catered for separately? You who cannot
we
see?
studied with students who were, I should say, quite good, that these literature books, you could either record them, someone could read for you, no bango recording, then you listen to the book after. But at the same time, twali tuyiza okukozesa computer, so you could read a book in soft copy using a computer. No banga, you can access a number of books. So ng'obisoma mu soft copy, or to listen to an audio, the one recorded, kuba mulimu novels ezimu nga olina girecording endawula wabutabo bwabangayo online ng'osobola n'oka downloading audio form no listening n'okawuliriza n'oba ng'otambula bw'otyo. But the school was also cooperative. The students betwali nabo nga nabo bali very cooperative, so it was easier for us to survive through and finish successfully.
Bwogamba nti mwali muyize okozesa computers, zino computer ezibeera specifically for you people who cannot see.
No computer eba yemu computer gy'okozesa buli omu gy'akozesa, only that you just add a few assistive software, but eba computer yemu buli omu gy'akozesa yenna.
How was life at school?
At school, I think life was good. Life was good at school. Because the school isomero lyali accommodative, isomero lyali lisomesa. Of course, a few challenges olumu nti if you are not used to the culture of overreading or okusoma ennyo, because the school kusomero kuliko competition, so you need to read, you need to catch up with all the school programs, and naturally nga bw'obeera ku ssomero, when there are some things you may never wish to attend always. Naye ng'ate you have to attend them, they are part of the school program, but largely the school was perfect.
Did you face any resentments from students?
No. I think the school was... The students were really very welcoming and accommodative. And
From primary?
Yes.
Oh.
And I think for me, I always chose not to look at the negativity of the situation, but how do I maximize the positive part of it such that I'm finally accommodated fully. Because if you are to keep looking at the negatives, then you'll have many things okukumira emabega olowooza oba gundi ono tanjagala gundi oba alowooza kino, but you just have to there is no law that you are meant to be liked by everyone regardless of what you are. So look at the good things and you move on. If someone doesn't like you, well and good, you're not meant to be liked by everyone, but move on and do other things that make others like you. So I never gave my attention to look at who doesn't want me so much. If you don't want me, that is your business.
To know the performance here from O level and A level, it is excellent. 10 points at O level and then 20 points. Zetwogerako no esatu ne take a point ya ICT or take one ya GP. And the person who got those points, he's a visually impaired person. Kati gwe munanga alabo uli kuchi. So what chiche chakuletera okuwa performance say you like?
I think one olina okuba gwenga omuntu olina okwekkiririzaamu, but two, I think by God's grace and most importantly, God was always on our side, that we could work out things nebanga bikola, but then abasomesa baali supportive. Then most importantly, the students were cooperative nga mudiscussingira wamu mukolera wamu ebintu collectively. So collective work gye twakulina nga aba students abasomesa, it helped us a lot, and there was belief that tusobola okukola ebintu bino, tusobola okuyita. So subsequently twateekamu kye tusobola ekitonotono tuteekamu amaanyi with the surrounding environment. It was only possible that was the least we could go for.
Nga oli mu ssomero, let's concentrate at Ganga says. Mwalinanga mulina separate classrooms, or you would attend lessons with the normal students?
Twatuulanga mu class yemu. buli kimu kyaba like
everything was
there was nothing kyemukola separately. You were part of the same class. It was an inclusive class nga you were with everyone. Omusomesa ajja n'abasomesa mwenna, you copy notes as others are copying. Where you need assistance, the teacher will give it to you, but it was an inclusive class mwenna nga mubeera wamu. If it's a discussion or a presentation, mwabikolanga n'abaana bonna group discussion. So there was nothing that this is specially set aside.
Njagala okuzaayo kemabega wali eri ku 9 years nga bagambye nti togenda kuddamu kulaba for the rest of your life. How was the experience?
They did not expressly tell us that this will be like this. So they've just told us that we will problem eye pressure, but when we keep monitoring it, it could stabilize, it may not, we don't know, but it just has to be monitored. So in other words, you still have hope, but you are not sure of the hope, but you have to keep moving, yes, and follow the advice they are giving you, period.
Wali weba kugamba ebyo ngofunye obuzibu buno wali namuko, did you resent going to school nogamba?
Naya, I had wanted so much to go back to school. Even in the press itself, it was easier for me to catch up because I was on pressure. I would see other children going to school. We are in the same period, so I had to go.
Back to parents.
Yes.
How did they react?
Naturally, a parent ojja kufunamu pain yeyo, but I think there is a way back catching up very fast. Neyamanya kino kibaddewo, but at the same time ono alina okugenda maaso, alina okukola ebirala byalina okukola mu nsi. I has to move on. And because I think they had got some level of education, they would be appreciating the relevance of education. So they would automatically catch up very fast. How do you continue studying? And by God's grace, because I think it was largely by God's grace that they found out a place, I moved on very fast. So that pain was there in them, but they accepted, they took me to school, and they did not put that at the front line that we had always to, I had to do everything as my other siblings were doing.
At home?
I participate, yes, I had to participate in everything. If we are in the village, if it's garden work, I was part of it. If it was any family activity, I had to be fully into it. That as someone, I have this problem. So you were largely into the family and you forget anything like that.
Did you have anyone to support you, like someone to help you in everything?
Support, I support if required to move somewhere, I had my siblings around me. But I think because Nanga, I didn't want to sit down much, I would do some things on my own. Where I need their assistance, they would come in, they were always willing to assist, but we would always largely move as a family. Yes.
Omwami Abbas Luyombo, he is a law student. There was a story banange mujiwuliriza nga bwe tugenda kwanga tugitambula mpola so banange abayina ebibuuzo byonna kyangeri kiwe kiwandika ne bwe kiwandika mu Luganda ngenda kubanga nkisoma. So ogenda ku Facebook mu comment section tekamu ekibuuzo kyo, ogenda kubanga ate omwami Abbas Luyombo nga kikuddamu bulungi story ye yannaku naye ate munnange ye teyaddaawo okwetuula kwekubagiza ye yakwatirawo n'agamba nedda obulamu n'abumanyiira mangu nnyo ne yeeyongerayo muki n'okusoma kwe. Kati gwe munanga ali eyo wafuna accident, but you can see you can walk okay using a stick or something as a supportive instrument. Munange togwa maanyi okyali mu myaka egigenda ku ssomero, please go and study. You can be Abbas Luyombo is the right definition of disability is not inability. So what he is here, he is the right definition. He has excellence in everything he does. Ate munaya akikola na passion n'obumalirivu nti asinga n'omuntu ali eyo nga akola ki nga yejjamu amaanyi ate nze munnange kirabika ne Mukama tanjagala n'alikoze kino so bana twagala okubakubiza n'okubazaamu essuubi temusobola okubaako ne kyemukola yadde teri kibeerawo nga Mukama ate tayagadde. Tugenda maaso ne story ye tugenda kubanga tumuvuga mpola tuzagala tumupapye olw'ensonga nti tusuubira nti abaliko bangi nnyo abalaba bandyagadde ate okumanya oba n'okufuna obuyambi kuwa ye gye yabufuna. omwami Abbas bwe mwali nti nga muli ku ssomero nga muli in class mwalina while taking notes mwalina special instruments babawa like that school caters for you people who do not send while others are writing in their books nga balaba abatalaba you are catered for or it is a parent's responsibility to provide.
Essomero lyali developing a bit unit so balina machines ezo ekikubagiyita Parkins Braille so nga baziina machine ezo zetwakozesanga nga essomero lizibawa of course ziba tezimala bulungi but you could catch up. Essomero lyali lizibawa kuba za bay not every parent can afford them but essomero lyali lizigaba but these are the laptops and what ng'omuzadde asobola okugulira
omuzadde asobola okugulira pozi ekirala kye nandyagadde okumanya nti while at school nze njagala nnyo tuconcentrating waneno kubanga abazadde bangi balina abaana osanga bandyagadde ogenda mu masomero naye ate oba tebamanyi ssomero ki lisobola ku includinga mwana we ng'ate tali tormented nnyo gwe bwoti oli bwoti. Were you only alone in class?
I wasn't alone but I wasn't alone. Twali muna tabala mu class. But I think it starts with making a child to accept there is something because ideally the community agenda kuba ne perception all the time. But you are not meant to capitalize on what the community thinks about you to determine what you should be. We set yourself such that because community agenda kutreating nga bwe treating bwogenda kwetuulako bwogenda kubeerawo olowooze buli omu ajja kuyambe buyambi like community tekuwa space kubanga weetaaga space. You only have to struggling for that space. So gwe bw'otuula onogaa community egenda kunyamba kuba tolina mugaso gw'ogiwa. You only have to prove that you are relevant kuba naye banakutwala ku ssomero but bonna beera ku ssomero nga tolina relevance gy'owaba nno ku ssomero. Of course nabo tebagenda kukulaba mugaso tebagenda kubako kyamaanyi kyebakusembera but when you show you are relevant then community is going to attach relevance to you. But the starting point of feeling mentally challenged, tormented, it starts with you as an individual. You will torment yourself. So even when community tekulinaako buzibu oli bwana kuyitamu gawala bugundi ampiseeko tambuuzize kitegeeza tanjagala kuba gwe weesetinga bwoti obwongo bwo n'obuteekaawo so omunne wa talina kibi kyakoze gwolowooza alina ekibi kyakoze. So it starts with you to set free you free yourself. Then tomanya mu ne baba alina ekibi ekyakulowooleza you will not bother so he will change or her naturally ye kenyini. But when you are still in captivity yourself you will feel a lot of negativity ne community jeta kuyinaako yadde gwejja kugiwulira ng'eriwo.
Kati njagala okumanya kwono mukwano gwe mwali muzannya naye n'akukuba ejjinja yawulira atya ye akyali.
It was a child play. It was a child. Actually he was still my friend but it was a child play at that time and unfortunately both of them I've never gotten sure what clearly happened but they passed away. There were two of them. They passed away but I used to go back to them. We used to play because we were children and we were friends. Even after that we still remained friends. Still we changed the location as the family. We went to another place, they remained in another place, but later still they remained being around. We were friends because it was childish play.
As your parents were taking you to school, abazadde baba n'abaana babayambako in the expenses of the hospital.
I think the first things like clinic, what they came in, but of course you could not accuse them because it was a child play surely, and they never envisaged all this thing it would get to all this. But they came in where they could, and later they could not come in because they were also poor. They could not do much. Yeah, but we moved on and we could not keep on that, how these people should come in and assist. We moved on and other things continued happening.
Awuze mbadde njagala kubuuza nti kati abaana abo bwe wali omaze okufuna obuzibu bo tekyabalumiriza like every time ne bawuliranga they are guilty.
I don't know whether it was there, but we all remained playing. Even when I had a problem, they would pick me up. They would be with me. Even when I would still go with them at school, they would always take custody of my everything. Like they were always caring as children. They would realize what has happened and they remained extremely caring.
Did you ever got annoyed, like,
No.
Never at all?
No, I've never.
I really want you to tell our viewers what gives you the confidence to do all this, to go and study, and as we enter into Makerere University.
I think the confidence largely starts with you as an individual. You first need to believe in yourself and knowing very well that the world has space for you, a lot of space. You only need to take a decision on to do something. The world will welcome you. The world will work with you. The world is full of so many good people. We should never be deceived that because we have bad people around, that is the community. There are so many good people around. There are so many understanding people. It is only you as you, regardless, with or without any disability, because it is not that people are prevented from achieving anything in life because of. And because disabilities, it's not about a physical disability or a mental, but it can be a psychological in you. When for you feel possibly something can't work out because they told me I can't do this, so there is some force stopping me. Like it's all about you taking a decision and accepting there is a price I have to pay, and you give in all you can. It is you to write your story, surely. No one is going to write for you your story, and choose to write that story and the world reads it. Give it your best. Just believe in yourself. Things will gradually create way for you. There is no anything that will come on a silver plate.
While growing up, did you ever want to be a lawyer, or it had to change during the course of your education?
I had wanted to be a lawyer for some time. I think it's one thing I had thought of only expressly. I remember even when we were in senior 6 filling job forms, I told our examination officer, external examination officer, is it possible for me to fill law as my first choice to the 6th choice? Because I felt I don't want anything else. It is this I have to do. And that's why I was so sure that there was no way I have to fail pre-entry, because this is what I have to do, and I must pass pre-entries at any cost.
Because you wanted to be a lawyer. Mukose zonna lwaki walonda okukola amateeka?
One, to start with, generally, I loved the course in itself. Then the people, I think, the people who had inspired me much, as I was growing up, I had read about the different information I had that had come into my knowing was for people who had done law and what they had done. So that inspired me much, and I felt like I think I should be part of these people. I should be part of these people. I should have a story like for these people. I think at that time I had not thought of these things. I love doing justice, human rights, what? No. I think that initially was never my reason. Initially was, okay, I've seen these people being good. I should be good like them. They are being good by being lawyers. I think I should also be a lawyer. So now these other things of why you love human rights, doing justice, they came in on their way. They make me, when for me I have shaped my dream, and now they only improved it. But I can't say that they were the primary things. No, it is the people whom I was reading about who inspired me, and I'm like, oh, I think I should be a lawyer, such that I'm like this person.
Did you have any other alternative, if at all law had failed?
I think God was only lucky for me. I didn't have any other alternative in my mind. No, I was only thinking about that expressly. And that's why I had to give it my all, because it was only that and only that.
Only law?
Like, I think if it had failed, life would not end. I would now figure out again life. But initially that was it, and that was it, period. I wanted that.
Abatulaba okyali ku Debate Drive. page eride Alternative Uganda on your Facebook account. Check out search engine, take up the Alternative Uganda. Like the page and then follow as we have Omwami Abbas Luyombo. He's a law student at Makerere University in his third year. Munange gwetulina ye mu studios atunyumiza story ye katusubire munaffe gwali eyo ojamu ekyokuyiga oli maama oba oli muzadde nga olaba story ya Abbas katusubire munange ojamu ekyokuyiga omwana wo ayagala okusoma naye nga ate essomero lyalimu oba osanga teririmu supportive instruments eza oyo omuntu bwatyo ndowooza saawa eno omanyi wa woino twala omwana wo bwoba ali mu primary oba ali mu secondary omanye nti omwana naye ayina right to education okuba nti ayina disability gy'abayina tekimuggyako right ye y'okuba nti ayina okusoma so ffe tubakubiriza bannaffe abazadde mweyunire program eno kubanga mubaamu bingi ebyokuyiga naddala abazadde kati nga eno program omuzadde ng'olina omwana oganya omutwala ku ssomero abazadde mu abasinga omalamu abaana amaanyi gwe n'omulabira ddala nga takyalina kyasobola so
omwana ajijja ku muzadde yes
confidence omwana ajijja ku muzadde buli lw'omulaga nti omubelievingiramu buli lw'omulaga nti munange you can do it no matter what omwana agenda kufuna confidence naye ate buli lw'omulaga nti oweddemu amaanyi ogamba mukama namukola ki lwaki nze so omwana agenda kubanga takyalina kyakola nga naye aggwamu amaanyi gamba olaba maama yakola bwati olaba taata bwati so bannaffe story ndowooza mugiwulira bulungi ate era tusuubira nti mugifollowinga ffe tugamba bugambi nti tukusaba ofunemu ekyokuyiga osomemu ofunemu points emu 2 3 zijja kuyambako mu bulamu bwo gwe munaffe yali eyo ng'olina disability eya any kind tusuubira nti ate ofunyemu ekyokuyiga akugambye it starts with you osooka kwekkiririzaamu then n'abalala ne bakukkiririzaamu bw'oba tonnekkiririzaamu munnange tolina kyogenda kubaako yadde tolina kyogenda kubanga okola osooka kwekkiririzaamu then omuntu omulala yenna oba eyandyagadde okuyamba nakusportinga out n'amanya nti okay oyo mwana ayagala okukola kino naye alabika yeetaaga obuyambi so naakuyamba so bannaffe confidence starts with you anything starts with you wekkiririzeemu njagala okugenda nga sinayingira Makerere University because wetuyingira Makerere tetudda amabega story yawe beekyuse beefu tugenda mu byabufuzi what inspired you to stand and all that kind of stuff kati njagala okumanya waneeno abazadde bo how have they been that supportive bavuddeyo ne babeera nga bakuyambako ebintu bino ebimu nti ku ssomero batugambye baagala kino ne kino ne kino your parents could afford all these things while in school
yeah, my parents were affording all those things. They could pay for them, and to them, I think for me, whenever we were returning to school, my father would ensure, like I would leave home before anyone leaves. Stetam webetandise when we are making lists according to the available money, ebyange they would finish paying for them for taking care of everything, and I would leave. I would never lack tuition, like fees baba amazon musasula ebintu byonna byonna nga they would take care of everything. You call him, he has money, he will give everything, at least ekintu bwaba akirina ajja kukimpa, bwaba takirina he will explain, I don't have this and you will not get it at this time, and I will know I can't get that at that time, and I'm not, it's not there.
Wano among your siblings nga okuze and ofunye buno obuzibu balina engeri gye bakupresentingamu oba
they were always very welcoming, very supportive. We could work with them, and they were always with me everywhere. Like you would not feel any different at all.
Are you the firstborn?
No, I'm not.
Oli wakumeka mbana batatawo?
I think like the 6th.
Okuva waggulu okuva wansi?
Wansi. Abaana abeewo babala ova waggulu.
Ati nze mbambala okuva ku bukulu okuuka kwasembayo.
Waggulu ye ku bukulu?
We ngamba nti mbala wansi kitegeeza mbambala okuva kwasembayo paka
no, from up from the 6th. So
yani oluganda ogenda lutulemesa waneeno ndaba ebigambo okyali ku Makerere Drive tugenda mu health break atono nnyo tukomawo.
get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
We President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Dig Talk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop and smart TVs as we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
Yellow Beat.
It's a 4G remix. Double sin. Twice upon a time, I got my phone. I put him busy, and then I said, I have time with it. So I called my friend. Faska, did you know? Did you?
Yes, it's MTN at 00, the 4G remix. Dial star 150 star 10 hash or visit my MTN app to load daily bundles and double your MPs on your 4G line. Everywhere you go, MTN.
What? That means more fire! What is up? What's it down?
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The Might Drive, your program is your chaliko platform eri the Alternative Dig Talk. It is always real issues, real talk. Farida Bikobere gemanya gange kozere munange Lilian Luwedde omwami ali mu studios omugenyi waffe olunaku lwaleero ye Abbas Luyombo. He is a law student at Makerere University in his third year. Ate nga munange ekyensusa kimuliko nti he is visually impaired naye nga ate yasalawo n'agamba nedda yadde lo bagisuutasuuta bagiwaana mbongumu nze eyo gye ngenda okukola. So munange kati twagala tuveeko mu bulamu bwe growing up and education tuyingire Make University tumanye while at school walina any leadership position gye wali otwala?
At school I didn't participate so much in leadership. I was only one time a member of the Students' Council, I think in my senior 3, that was all.
What inspired you to stand while you were in Make University nogamba nedda sekane nyigire mu bufuzi oba mu bukulembeze nchikirire faculty yange eya law?
I wanted to, first of all, nali njagala okuba omukulembeze. From the start I wanted to be a leader. Then I had been in circles of people who had been leaders at law school. So actually even they had encouraged me around. I think I was in my first year when at that time the president of Makerere Society was like, why don't you stand for GRC at the school? Of course I felt I could not and I strongly opposed and he pushed me but I refused and I didn't contest that year. Then in the next year I talked to him and he's like, I think you should go for it. And yeah, I went out, I started campaigning. I had been close to a number of people because we had been together in so many activities, debate activities at high school, in university, and many of them were law students, Kati. I started from there. Those who had known me, I started campaigning and speaking to them. I had wanted to represent the school. I had wanted to do much about how our school was, because the school in itself had its name, but then outside the university we were not, our impact wasn't felt so much. So we needed to get back the school to the front line of the university activities, and I felt I would do that very well. I spoke to people. I think I convinced them that I would do it, and they trusted me, and we went for the elections. I won the race, and I went into the guild leadership as a GRS of my school, and I was appointed as a minister, and yes, we started working from that time.
Anga wankatandika campaigns zo, how was the reception eri abo abantu bali osaba obululu? Did I welcome you oba bakupresenting like?
I think there is a way, I don't know whether people just change after leaving, but there is a way that students at law school were oriented with ideas. They were willing to listen to you, come, explain what you want to do. They ask you if they wish to ask you, and then they would make their judgment as them. But they were always receiving, because we reached out to them in different halls, hostels, classes, and they were always willing to listen, giving us platforms, everyone. Then they would make their individual judgment.
Okusinzira ku experience yo mu guild cabinet 85th. What gave you the confidence to say I am going to stand? Because I remember you had wanted to stand for the guild president of Makerere University, only that elections were suspended. We shall go to that. So what gave you the courage and confidence?
I had worked in the guild that year. We had worked effectively, but in our working I felt there was something lacking in the students' leadership at that time. When I realized the weaknesses we had, I felt there was something lacking that we needed, that I needed to spearhead as an individual. For instance, I realized we had done everything, but there was something lacking in our intellectual engagements with other people, because we had done everything in advocacy. We had done street advocacy. We had done everything on media and everything, but then intellectually sitting down to negotiate and secure a deal for a student, it didn't require your physical strength. It required your intellectual capacities. And I felt if I was at the forefront of this, I would offer much to that aspect. So I felt that it's high time I led this, but at the same time I felt there was leadership, but we needed to do much in shaping the student leader at Makerere University for national leadership. And I felt at the end of it all, they left Makerere leadership when they are leaders of an institution, but not leaders of a nation. So they were not built to that. At the end of it all, someone would leave student leadership not knowing what's the relevance of budgeting, why do you budget, what is the importance of compromise in leadership, how do you negotiate as a leader. All these concepts need to be prepared, such that a Makerere leader, you don't prepare him to be simply a leader of Makerere, but a leader who is going to go into a nation. And I felt the university had not done much, and we as student leaders, we had not done much to other leaders around us, because it's you who is at the top who shapes the others at the bottom. So I felt I needed to offer much into this, and I felt if we had done that, such that you have a leader whereby even if the president, you are not there, the other people below you are as good as you were, then we would have a new leadership at the university, a leadership which is strong enough, leadership oriented by ideas. But because Makerere, we are not searching for someone who is going to offer street advocacy. We are good at that. We don't need anyone to train us that. But can we have some people whereby if they leave any demonstration on the street, even when you put them in a room, they can negotiate and convince anyone that they have a point and secure a deal for a common student. That's what we needed, and we needed a leader who could shape that. So I felt our leadership had done everything, but such things, we needed them on board, and I felt I could offer them at that point.
Okay, being a person who is visually impaired, and we know Makerere is actually known for strikes, If anything is happening and they do not like it, they will strike. Kati gwenga gwe omuntu ali visually impaired and you want to lead such a university. Olowooza strikes zino ziyambako oba wandizikendezezzaako. Do you believe strikes have an impact, be a positive impact?
One most importantly, I think in Makerere we don't strike.
You do what?
We only demonstrate when we are not comfortable with any policy, and we peacefully demonstrate. I'm sure everyone can lead a peaceful demonstration just as we always have them. However, as we demonstrate, security forces strike. So when they strike, of course, we choose for us to remain in our peaceful demonstrations. But as they strike, their strike sounds more than our demonstrations. So because their strike sounds more, it appears that Makerere is striking. But for us, we peacefully demonstrate to challenge anything we don't want. And our voices are always heard. And I think there is no problem with demonstration. For as long as demonstration and a peaceful demonstration is the way to be heard, and then you can sit and negotiate. There is no problem with that. And if in that demonstration you are met by people who are chaotic, who are carrying out, who instigate chaos, well, we have no solution to them. They can keep doing that, but for us, we also remain on the line of a peaceful demonstration, and we move on because it is our right to demonstrate, and by that way, we have delivered results.
One would think that going into talks with the administration would be a much way better than you coming out and demonstrate, as you said.
You see, I don't know what people understand by talks. For you, you could have been trained at your home that when someone is speaking, you keep quiet and listen, and then you go and complain from the corners. The other person could have been taught that when the other person is speaking, stand up and tell him where he is wrong. Another one could have been told that for you to be heard very well, if you stand on the table and you shout, they will hear you. All these are forms of talking, but it depends on how you perceive them. So I think we always talk to administration. We talk to them in dialogues, in rooms and different places. We talk to them on streets, because even on the streets, we have a message we are delivering to them, and they listen to it. Those talks are also effective. That's why they are like, let's extend these talks in rooms. Come and we dialogue from here. But even the other demonstrations are means of talking to them, and we have always talked to them in those means, and they have fully understood our points.
Do you have a committee, akachika kakwasaganya ensonga zamwe ngaba students akwogera ne administration?
Yes, we have the guild, and when you know, people don't just go on the street on a day. When you see people are adopting another format of talking, it means there is a format which has failed.
So that means striking is the only solution you have?
Demonstrating is the solution, is not the only solution we have, is one of the solutions we have. Yes, and we have always used it, and it has delivered results, and we don't plan to drop it.
Actually, that was going to be my other question. Don't you see Makerere University getting into dialogues with the administration, and we are not seeing you people demonstrating? Because as you are demonstrating, you are killing time during your semester or learning period. Don't you think you people can really study or get into negotiations with the administration to do what you want them
now,
to do?
Those are two things. One,
demonstration and all that.
One is that, do we kill time when we are demonstrating? No, we don't. Why don't we? At the end of it all, every year students graduate, and they graduate when they are taught everything. That's one. Two, the idea that we kill time is there to be utilized for what we need. So if I go and have a negotiation with the administration for 4 hours, and that negotiation delivers no results, that time has been used as well. So the time we use to demonstrate is a time specifically to deliver results at that time. And as Makerere, we are organized enough that even after demonstration, we get back to class, cover what we are meant to cover, sit for exams, pass them, go outside, and we are employed.
But some students, after the demonstration, most of them are injured and others even get suspended from the university.
That is true. That is true. It is just like saying that when you know, I could give an illustration that you are going to carry out something, and with or without a demonstration, anything can happen to your health. Two, with or without demonstration, in a dialogue, you could go and you don't get what you want. Still, that is a failure. So, in all these formats that we choose to pursue as the students' community, they have effects. And their effects are there because that's the price we can pay to ensure that we get results that we need. There is no any decision you take with no price to be paid for it. These are prices we pay, but we know that after them there are results which are delivered finally. So the idea is these demonstrations can be there, but when they fail to listen to you in a dialogue, you can't say just go back and sleep. Use another language to talk and your message will be heard. That there is a price to be paid in that language, and we have to accept to pay it because it is a decision taken by the community. You can't expect to get everything on a silver plate, no.
It is said that as you people demonstrate, it is with the help of other political people who are outside the university. Abajja ne babakumamu omuliro nagamba you demonstrate ne babateekamu ssente that you are able to do so. Is it true?
I don't know whether high tuition affects only people who support FDC or NUP. I don't know whether privatization
of opposition.
No, because I'm just mentioning political parties because that's what I'm going to. That I don't know whether privatization of halls affects only NRM. However, people who say that, I don't know, they can bring proof because for me, I've never seen anyone in NRM funding our strikes. If they say political forces support us outside, I haven't seen anyone from NRM funding us. And I'm sure NRM would be interested in us having good policies in Makerere, and if they bring bad policies, they would fund these strikes, these demonstrations, such that we demonstrate and have good policies and the government is credited. But I've never seen NRM funding our demonstrations. Yet good policies in Makerere give credit to government.
Has ever funded your demonstrations?
I think FDC may not fund because FDC is there to criticize bad policies. And so NRM would easily fund our demonstrations such that Makerere comes up with good policies and the government gets credit. But none of them has funded our strikes. I've not seen NRM, FDC, NUP. We have only spoken about issues which affect all of them across board, NRM, FDC, NUP. And I'm sure they are always happy, all of them. The government is always happy when we tell Makerere you are doing this bad. And when they correct it, government gets the credit. And I think sometimes opposition might be disturbed because when we demonstrate, government corrects the problems we face and they get that credit.
Okay, you are in third year, Makerere University. When are you doing your exams?
26th of this month.
So how has this affected the student fraternity? Abana abali ewala abali baziye walanga ate balina okukomawo bakole exams and they are not meant to stay in the hostels of the university.
Of course there is a bigger effect of costs nti ebintu bya beeyi. People, the internet costs themselves are high. Coming back to accommodate themselves, it's quite high and expensive. It has surely come up with very many negative consequences. But at the same time, there are those people have tried to catch up because it's the new normal. But as the fact, the process itself, the system is quite challenging. Online teaching is so hard for a common student. But I think steps taken to see how it can be improved, they are there, but they have not been much effective so far. But then I think the university has pursued the policy, and then you cannot encourage students that don't turn up for this thing, because if the university pursues it and some students you tell them not to turn up and they will lose an academic year. So those who have managed to catch up. It's quite unfortunate that the system is negatively affecting people, and the university has not paid much attention to that. No steps have been taken to address a number of these things. But I think has been largely because of uncoordinated efforts that we have finally not gotten results out of it.
You being the biggest students fraternity, you are the biggest shareholder of the university. Have you put in efforts? You advocate
Yeah,
for
like
the
that's my
students?
point, that even when we have put in efforts, our efforts have been uncoordinated. So at the end of it all, you have gotten no results because of uncoordinated efforts. Because you will find people from the school of thought that we should reject online learning. You will find those who are like, no, I think we can adopt online learning, but let's negotiate on how we can have things improved and how we can have fair policies. Now that means you have efforts which are directed on different platforms, and that means you may not easily get results because efforts are directed at different points.
Okay, at a personal level, how has this online learning affected you?
Of course, one, data is quite expensive to sustain such Zoom calls for classes. Network is poor itself, so what you get when they are teaching is not as effective as that what you get physically. And it is quite expensive. It's quite expensive. If it's costly for me, who is a government student, then I'm sure for a private student it's extremely high. So it has affected me. But do I have an option? I don't have an option. I've chosen to read and try to prepare for the exams because I shouldn't lose time as well.
You being a student's leader, or who wants to lead the students to be the guild president of Makerere University, to have our vice chancellor yavayo nagamba nti abaana abatannamalayo tuition are not going to sit for exams, and if so you miss an exam, you register for a dead year. May you please comment on that?
Now, for me, actually, that was even when we were discussing online classes and such things. To me, my school of thought was that our efforts had to be directed to that particular idea of tuition itself. That could we have used that time to enter into negotiations with the university at any cost, that students who are not going to pay for utilities, who are not going to benefit from university utilities, who are not using university internet, can we negotiate to have a waiver of tuition for the students than us going into a campaign of opposing online classes? Because I felt there was a population of students that supported online classes.
True.
So for me, my concern had been, how do we go into a negotiation with the university that they can give a waiver, even if it's for 300,000 or 400,000 to every student's tuition? That would be enough to balance at least, because people who miss exams are not people who are being demanded 3 million. These are people who have failed to pay 400,000, 300,000, 500,000. And if we had gone into a negotiation with the university administration to tell them, look here, no one is benefiting from your utilities, no one is coming to class to study, no one is using your electricity, no one is using your rooms, your what, can we have a waiver of tuition? And we go into such negotiations. For me, I thought they would at least somehow get us some results than pursuing the idea of rejecting online classes completely. I thought, for me, I saw it was a difficult process because students' community was divided. There are those who were like, we can't lose the year, we want to go for classes and we have to go for them. And they were opposed to someone who is saying we should reject online classes. But uniformly, the entire students' community would love a waiver of tuition.
Yes.
Would love some reduction on tuition. And for me, I had, even the people I talked to, I told them, why don't we direct our efforts to this idea of tuition than going into the online thing? Because if they reduce tuition, possibly someone would be able to have data to pay for his data or her data. Possibly someone who lacks money would be able to sit for exams for the final year. So for me, I felt that was the key point of negotiation. But it was hard to push it because our leadership was already dissolved. So I was no longer student's leader, but I was someone who is a concerned former student leader. But at the same time, people who had a higher standing than me chose to pursue the idea of rejecting an online class, which for me, I didn't feel we would succeed in it. And I told them expressly that I think this is a dead end you are pursuing. We may not succeed in it. But if we need a short-term result for now, we would rather pursue this one of campaigning for a waiver of tuition, which I believe we would have tried, and I'm sure we would have got some results there. but it wasn't pursued, and it is quite unfortunate that we don't know what could happen to the fate of so many students. But for me, I felt at that time that was what we could pursue, and it's where we could get some results. It's where we could convince even government to come in, and they were like, let's give this waiver, and I'm sure we would get it. But because we had uncoordinated efforts, at the end of it all, we achieved nothing out of that.
Tumanyi nti your leadership was dissolved. Mwate batekawo akakiiko nti okulonda tekwaddibwamu ate nga mugenda kola exams, meaning temugenda kulonda, tulinda kulonda kulala. Batekawo akakiiko akakulembera ba students nti it is through them that your points are heard.
Now constitution yatulina gye caretaker government.
Yes.
It is there. But even that one, you feel it's overburdened because, for instance, it has only 2 students representatives, the speaker and the deputy guild speaker. The deputy is running an election in Busia. She's contesting for woman MP. So she's busy in her campaigns. And the speaker is a finalist. He's also busy in other things. So all these people you can't say they are representing students fully. Even when they are doing something, I give them credit because the speaker has done something. I will credit him for that. But possibly if he had other people around him, who are possibly a committee which they can set up, it would do much more for the students than the way we are at this point. Because we are in a crisis, we are in a constitutional crisis at the university, we are in a crisis where the university is not, it appears, unwilling to open up the process for elections. So students continue to lose. There is a vacuum of leadership. So it's a crisis. There is a bigger leadership vacuum now in the university. And possibly, I don't know whether it pleases the administration to have that vacuum, because I'm sure they would be so much interested in hearing the students' views on the different matters being passed. But they have taken no steps. So it may be implied that they are pleased by that leadership vacuum. They could be pleased. I don't know, because I haven't had their official position as to whether they are pleased by that. But circumstances could imply that they are pleased.
How do you think this is going to affect the students at large?
Well, the effects are already being seen. That the idea of tuition could not be fully discussed. Many policies are being passed when their views are not heard. They are not being consulted. And that is a problem. That's a problem to a common student. That's a problem to everyone. That the university may continue passing such things without listening to the common student, without having the views of the students heard. And that will continue affecting the students' community. But I'm sure the Electoral Commission is taking major steps to say that they push hard, but they also lack support from behind on how they can move on. So it's quite a crisis that we are in. But I think we are trying to see how we can come out of it, but it's quite a tricky position.
Omwami Selugo Ronald, you are watching from Chambogo University. Munange webale kubeerako ng'olaba Unique Josephine. Naye thank you for watching. Comments zonziraba. I think gwasinza okufuna mweno program. Munange mukwano webale kubeerako, tukwebaza nti you spare time and money n'ogula data ate n'obudde bwo n'obuteekako n'obeera nti olaba. We say thank you very much. Omwami tumuhimbise Noman webale kubeerako. Wamala Hadija mwebale kubeerako nga mulaba. Esaawa ziri 2 eddakiika ziri 23 ezankayita ku ssaawa yaffe ey'okubiri ya programu yaffe The Mighty Drive gyokyaliko tukutwalira ddala mpaka ssaawa 3 awo tubanga tukusiibulira nga ate tulinda olunaku olulala tulekuleetera ekintu ekirala tube nti ate nakyo tukyogerako ofunemu kyokuyiga ogwaffe gwa ku inspiringa n'okuzaamu hope n'okusomesa abantu okubawa information ku biki ebiba bigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga. Tuli mu kadde ka kalulu, ennaku zo ziri 6 mu 2 ezibulayo okulonda ba president ne ba MP bo. 62 days to go to vote for your president. N'omubakawo agenda okukiikirira mu parliament. Tugenda kwanga tuzibabalira buli lunaku mpaka tunaabala nga tetukyabala lunaku nga tubala ssaawa ezino ezibulayo tugende tulonde abo betwagala batukiikirire for the next 5 years. Awo nwe tukugambira nti akaluluko kama talinga manya ani gogenda okulonda n'ensonga lwaki omulonda. Abazadde, abavubuka, banaffe abawala n'abalenzi ng'oli mu myaka egironda, we say you go and vote. Aina ekibuuzo ky'omukwano kiteekeko mu comment section, Facebook page Eride Alternative Uganda. Comment section teekamu ekibuuzo kyo, ngenda kubanga ate nkikusomera. Omuntu gwe tuli naye, omugenyi waffe gwe naye mu studios akuddemu butya bwe wandyagadde ate avudde mu ansa ogifunanga bw'ogyagala oba ogifunanga bweyina okubeera n'ekibuuzo kyo nkibuuzanga bw'okiwandiise siyina kukyusiriza kwenkola so bamikwano mbakubiriza ebibuuzo byammwe mubitekeko mu comment section oyina omuntu gw'oyagala tukyaze nga tetunnamukyaza teekamu erinnya lye mu comment section you nominate we host teekamu erinnya lye ffe tugenda kubanga ate tumuba bunoonyeza tumubaleetere ayogereko erimwe abantu ba presidential candidates abali mu kunoonya obululu banange ffe tubaagaliza mikisa myerera ate era tubagamba nti as you look for votes covid-19 gyali abantu mubakuume because there is life after elections abantu bano mugenda kubeetaaga teri ayagala kufuga ensi nga ndwadde nga buli omu gwotunulako mulwadde ng'abantu batondoka bafa baggwawo naye ng'ate obulwadde bwasaasaana nga muli mu kunoonya akalulu abantu be musaba obululu mubakuume ate naawe obeere nti weekuumye osobole okuba nga abakulonze bakuteese mu ntebe ng'abantu balamu basobola ogenda ne beekolera ekikumi kyabwe ng'ate sente temuzidaivatinze nnyo kujjanjaba bantu omwami Abbas Luyombo gwe tuli naye mu studio z'olunaku olwaleero ng'atunyumizaamu obulamu bwe ne lwaki yasalawo okukola amateeka yali alina gwalwanirira agambye nedda ye kusinziira ku bye yali asomako be bamuinspiringa okukola amateeka tuli Makerere University leero wetukoledde show yaffe because omugenyi waffe gwe tulina olunaku lwa leero is a student of Makerere University tuba tumuyisaamuko mu university ye gyayagala okukulira alabe butya bweri na butya bwayinza okugiimprovinga so omwami Abbas Luyombo wegwanyiza ekifo ekya guild president of Makerere University naye Makerere eina ebizibu biyitirivu to mention is hostels ez'abaana temubeeramu mazzi obukyafu obuli mu hostels ng'ate abaana basasula esente empitirivu okuba nti babeera mu ezo hostels esente za hostel where are they diverted to sente ezo bazidaivatinga bazizawa because they are not maintained complex okuva wenagiraba in 2011 complex hall bwekyali tebagirenovatinga tebalina kikyukako just ebigenda bikka esente z'abaana zebasasula ziragawa waliwo akakiiko akagoberera ebintu bino ensonga z'abaana ze baraisinga if it is there why are you not people hard
one I think kyemanyi nti twetaaga like we need to restructure the university appears now to we are in a crisis of confidence as the university the leadership we are reaching at the climax of the crisis and when we are at the climax of a crisis you need a force that must that must revise a number of things that are happening in the university. You need to restore hope in the university and you need to confront a number of these things with the entire students community united. So when you reach at the point that these main buildings like it shows you that how deep the crisis is getting in the university.
Yes.
And there is need for a concerted effort from the entire students community, from all players to push hard to restructure the university. If we don't do that, possibly then in years to come we may cease to see the Makerere we dreamt about. And so all these committees are there, but we need to review a number of things, how they are done, to have leadership which is involved, which attracts everyone. But at the same time, problems is all about Makerere. They are a replica of the problems in the entire education system. So you shouldn't think about Makerere problems as just Makerere. These are problems which are cutting across now in public institutions, and that's why students need to review and rebuild themselves, because it appears now things like is it UNSA, those have lost relevance to students. So you need a leadership which will use all means in its power to either set up a new students representative system with or without support of the of the government, but a system which will push for the voices and the views of the students to be heard. Because Makerere problems
could only be pushed by the leadership in Makerere, leadership at Unsa, but all these have been destroyed. All these have been compromised, and like they are no longer willing to act. They are now working at the whims of someone I don't know, but they are, so the idea is, how do you get back and restructure all these things? And when we change leadership, then we need to ensure that a guild president, you don't manage everything. You can't be a president who represents students at the finance and planning committee, you represent them as students affairs committee, you are on council, you are everywhere. The views of other leaders should be heard, and you need to push hard with all of them. So you need to have collective leadership where many students leaders represent students on these committees of the university. But at the same time, Makerere has a powerful alumni network. And if the university can't work on these things, we need to move out as the students' leadership. Lobby the alumni network. There are development agencies outside Uganda. The capacity of a guild president of Makerere University and Makerere's brand itself can attract funding from without, and that funding can be used to coerce the university to carry out improvement of these structures. But with or without that funding, we need to hold the people accountable. And it seems now for issues of accountability in Makerere, we need an iron hand from the students, the alumni, and all stakeholders to push the administration and the central management to account, because it appears they have owned the university and it has now become it's like their family. They manage it the way they wish, accountable to no one apart from themselves. Stakeholders don't need to know. So we need to come together as a system to rebuild, to push hard and restore hope, but have a system which is inclusive of not only the students but the alumni and other stakeholders to push hard the university. Because where we are, if we do not carry out rescue measures, if we do not organize an operation that restores the integrity of the university, we are at the climax of losing it. So it is only those who have seen this that must be part of this operation, and an operation which is not for those who are faint-hearted, but an operation for those who are willing to risk many things but to restore sanity at the university. But not only at the university, but sanity in the entire education system. Because when this system collapses, you have no future of a new Uganda, you have no future of rebuilding a new Uganda. You can't secure a future when the system of education has been collapsed.
Elections zaali suspended zewali ogwetabyemu nga ogenda okulondebwa okufuuka guild president wa university ye Makerere. Oyina hope eddamu okwesimbawo?
I think the biggest hope may not be of nze okuddamu okwesimbawo. The hope I have is that we are now we are organizing to carry out an operation that must restore sanity in the university. Now that operation, whether is led by me or not me, that's another question. But the most important thing that I'm part of that operation, I could lead it by being the guild president. I could be part of it in any way. But the only hope I have now is that we have reached at the climax of a crisis, which has been seen by everyone. Now I have a hope that the operation I wanted to carry out in March has gained momentum, and that momentum, it implies that we are going to carry out this operation to restore sanity in the university, in the entire education system. As whether it is me who will lead it or not me, that is not important. What is important is that we need to restore hope as leaders. A leader, you are a leader at any time. So we need to restore hope in the community. We need to call upon people. We need to mobilize efforts and forces, and we come on board, all of us, and rebuild a leadership for Makerere and for a nation which shall restore sanity in all these institutions. If I'm lucky that I lead this process, well and good. If I don't lead this process, well and good, I will be part of the system that shall have caused change.
As a student leader, what has gone wrong in this university, Makerere, and what should be done?
I think the leadership of the university needs to be reviewed. Like, you need to ask much why At this point now, Makerere has a lot of acting people. Everyone is in acting position, acting this. You do not have substantive people. But even those who are substantive, the way they are managing the university needs to be questioned. So I think the bigger problem is about the leadership of the university. But we need to ask, whom are they acting for? Because it appears there is some invisible hand somewhere which they are acting for. So for us, we are there. We want to excavate and get to that invisible hand, and we break that hand, then they will act very well.
Okay, let's talk about the rules and regulations on voting the guild president, like the banning of rallies in places of residence. What's your take on this?
I think they were unfair, but now that they were passed, we cannot keep crying about that. We are only planning to see how do we change them now. They were passed, they were unfair. Now we only have to think of how do we change that structure, how do we review it, how do we ensure that we rebuild a new system altogether, because they were bad. But shall we keep about that? Now let's use what is there to bring in right people who shall change the system, period.
In Makerere University, the many halls ezisinga over classrooms, ezisinga, you can call them lecture rooms, are not inclusive. Tekuri rails nti omwana omuntu ali na disability atasobola kutambula nga naye aina akagali, aina wheelchair asobola okuyingira. So may you please tell us the challenges that these people of disability, since you are a member of the PRW fraternity, we assume you know the problems or the challenges that these people face, because most of the times these people feel comfortable when they are talking to you. What are the challenges that these students are facing while here at the university?
One, the university took some steps, like they introduced they have a disability policy. That has not, I think on paper Makerere has a number of good things, but they have not done much in that area, because they have not implemented what they have on paper, and they are not willing to pay the cost of implementing these things. But I think we don't need to go far. We can benchmark from different. I think Chambogo has moved a step in that area, and we only need to, what should I call it, benchmark from Chambogo a few things, and Makerere tries to implement them. But the new buildings, they have tried to make them a bit better. They are fairly good, but much work has to be done to see that the university changes its policy. But all these come with the willingness to spend. The university should be willing to spend on disability-related policies. And if they spend on them, you will be sure that we shall have these things achieved. But if the university doesn't spend, it will be a bit challenging, because you realize many of the policies that can be disability friendly require spending.
Yes.
And if the university chooses to spend, money will be gotten. But I mean, policies will be better. But if they don't spend, then things will remain bad. But they show they have the will. They show they have the will. But as I've told you, there is that crisis which we need to deal with, which stops them from implementing their will. Because they have policy documents, they have papers, they have talked about a disability resource center, all these things are documented, but they have not implemented them. So it's a question of implementation and a push to have them implement.
When in university, like Ngabwe Aliku School of Law, you personally, are you people catered while in those lecture rooms? Most of never nabana, but Molina engageba catering that now, like you who does not see. Has the university catered for you people?
The university has tried, but not much has been done yet. Of course, because they give you a helper. As to say, the government gives you a helper. They try to help you with some financial resources, but these have been overtaken by events. The financial support they would give by 2008 is the one which they still give up to now. It appears like to them the economy has not yet changed. So the support they gave, the support they are giving was really so perfect for 2000, 2001, 2002. But it has now been overtaken, but they still think it's the same support needed. So we appreciate that little, but much has to be done because it appears they are still tied up in the 2000, 2001 support, which has changed so much and we can no longer use that.
Ono helepa gwe bakuwa bamuwa only nga ole ku government sponsorship or even me who has applied it through private.
Now that's the problem that it appears they don't have even records for students with disability on private. They only have those who are on disability scheme and some on national merit, but they don't have those on private, so they don't take care of their needs.
That is very unfortunate. Omwami Abbas Luyombo gwe tuli naye mu studios. In our last 15 minutes tugenda kubanga tuwulira na biki bye yandyagadde okukolera university if so he is given the chance to be the guild president of the Ivory Tower. But before he gives us that, I want him to comment about the burning of the main building. Did it have any impacts? If so, what are those impacts?
It has an impact. It's a historical monument. It's a historical thing. And even when they rebuild it again, it will not have its original historical outlook. Okay?
Yes.
But a lot of questions still remain. Of course, we don't know how did it happen. We don't have any reports that reflect what happened and how they should work on it. There are no reports at all. So that leaves a lot to be desired. So there are a lot of questions which are unanswered, but most importantly, it's historical aspect that we lost as a university. The information lost was a lot. The only challenge is no one has come out to explain everything fully and openly. They have not told the entire story openly, and we think there is a lot which has not yet been said, which should be said, or that which should be reported. And possibly, I think, Makerere students, for instance, students of journalism or the world around, people who do investigative journalism, there is a bigger story that I think they can offer us justice by inquiring into it and investigate it and unmask some truths which have not yet been told. But it was such a sad event for the year when the university is moving towards 100 years. But the burning of main building can only symbolically tell you the burning of the true values that the university has always been known for, and the new system which has this respect for such values that has that no longer values anything. So those values which the university stand for, the burning, for me, I just look at this as a symbolic aspect that when you see the main building being burnt down, the iconic tower, then that shows that the university itself is collapsing. So for us, we are coming, as you saw the main building having a small part that remained unburnt. We are that small part which is still existing, and now we have to come back and save that part and rebuild a new system and try to dislodge the old system that appears to have no respect for these values completely.
Eddakiika ziri 43 ezankayita ku ssaawa 2 ez'olunaku lwaleero. Tuli mu ddakiika zaffe ezisembayo oba last segment ya program yaffe ya The Mighty Drive. Munaffe abadde atugoberera tusuubira nti munnange ofunyemu ekyokuyiga. Omwana we Makerere ng'oli mu first year second year ng'olowooza nti ba finalist bokka be bagenda okukola ebibuuzo. Mukwano tukugamba oluddewo dda komawo ebibuuzo byo bya next week otandike okurevisinga. Tusuubira nti mwagenda ne handouts ewaka mubadde musoma, so you come back obabanga omuzadde asobodde okufuna tuition okole ebigezo ate weewalidde dia. In your last remarks, what are those strategies that you have that would maybe help to restore the Ivory Tower that you would really wish to be put into place?
One, in matters of student leadership,
yes,
we want to have mentorship programs for all students leaders whenever they are elected into leadership positions, because leadership in itself is not the end, it's just a means to the end. So we need to have a lot of mentorship programs to prepare them to be good leaders in that particular period, but even after Makerere, we need to prepare. So we want to run a number of mentorship programs such that these people are trained and skilled and schooled in leadership. That's one thing we are intending to deal with, students leaders themselves. Then we want to encourage intellectualism. That will be still as part of the mentorship program. Then we want to work together as students community to set up a new system that unites university or institutional leadership in Uganda, such that we can push and have a system that has students' views and voices heard by all authorities everywhere. And if UNSA has not yet been worked on to improve on the way it represents students, we shall dislodge it and have a new system that represents students. Yes, that we are assuring them. Then we want to have a students' representative leadership, where students are represented on any platform. A guild president should not represent students on every committee and on everything. All these student leaders are bright, and we can only get many ideas when we have them represent students on every. Like the guild president should not be overburdened on everything. If you are part of council, make other people to represent you in other areas. Then we plan to ensure that we restructure students. We need to challenge these new electoral rules. We believe they are quite unfair. The number of regulations in them which are unfair, and the war has not ended. We are going to review them, and we shall review them, and we shall have them we shall have them removed. That I will assure them. We have means that we have organized. The only thing that the students have to do is to ensure that right people are in the right positions. But we have plans to dislodge them. The challenge of tuition, that struggle has not ended. It was only starting. So we plan to have a review on that. By all means, that shall be either through working closely with the people who have different strategies on how we can either support students with tuition or how the university can review its policies. But that is still a struggle, not only in Makerere, but in public institutions of learning. Because the right to education is to everyone, not only those in Makerere. There are those who are not speaking in Busitema, but they are facing these challenges. And that's why I'm telling you, we want to restructure students' leadership in public institutions. And if UNSA doesn't speak for students, we shall have a system that speaks for students.
Omukyala Nabukera Teddy Tenjo, webale kubeera kagamba, thanks for being determined. Fatia bint Sulaimani, she says that is my Abbas. Banange mwebale kubeera ko nga mutulaba erije tutandikira ku saawa emu mpaka saawa 3. Uze tuge sinagalawa.
Pati jagala mubuuza, like I oinayo essuubi lyonna eryokuba nti ogenda kuyimirirawo ku kifo kyonna oba member of parliament or even president ng'ovudde mu university?
I have hope for building a better system of leadership for the country, for the institutions of learning, and for my community. I have the power to do it. I have the will to do it. As to whether you'll do it as a leader or nja kukikolanga ayamba ku bakulembeze, I may not answer it now, but let people just be assured that I am fully part of an operation that shall restore sanity in our country, in our nation, in our communities, and in institutions of learning. And we shall have a system that builds a new Uganda with a secured future, where I'm part of fully.
Remarks zo ezisembayo ng'osibula abatulaba, nsaba oyogereko eri eyo omuzadde ng'ayina omwana ng'ayina any kind of disability, oyogereko naye asobole okuba nti naye picking a hope okuva gy'oli alabirire omwana we gwali naye.
Kye balina okumanya, one, buli muntu yenna mu nsi asobola okukola buli omu kyakola, as long as yekkiririzaamu n'abamuli okumpi mukkiririzaamu. Abaana abasupporting, amasomero weegali mangi, government has tried to do something, though not much, but they have done a little. Naye let them work closely to ensure that abaana bagenda ku masomero. You don't need to look for special schools, because me as an individual, I don't believe in special schools. Sikiriza masomero not in a somero ya people with visual impairment only, ya people with hearing impairment only, ya people with physical disabilities only. No, I think these students can catch up in all schools. So it's about people who lead schools to make their schools quite inclusive as possible, and the parents to work hard to encourage to not to lose hope, to give their children hope. Abana abawesubi, they will do everything they can do as long as you give them hope. Let the university let the government do its part, but teachers and leaders of all these schools, let them make their schools as inclusive as possible. All students will thrive everywhere as long as they give them space to thrive.
Abbas's reasoning, his eloquence, and his engagements, they are just outstanding. He is a third-year student of Makerere University. Gwetubadde naye mu studios ezaffe ez'olunaku olwaleero. Munnange akola amateeka, tusuubira nti koosi y'amateeka tekolebwa buli omu. Abantu nga bagwa pre-entry wano. Pre-entry nezikufuukira pre-entry, Makerere tojja toleetayo kajjanja ogenda kola mateeka, pre-entry zikujjamu. But he is visually impaired and he is doing law, and ye performance ye ebadde waggulu ddala. Si omuntu gw'oyisamu amaaso nti kumala gakola naye nnyinayo ka second class lower. Second class lower ngendera awo. Nze sina tali antuma first class. Nze kasitampita ebigezo. So omwami Abbas Luyombo tusuubira nti banaffe abaddeko nga mutulaba muyina kye muyize. Omuzadde olina omwana ngolowooza ye kati awo munnange kati ate yafuna obuzibu talina kya ndowooza kati ofunye ekyokuyiga okuva eri Abbas Luyombo. But students fraternity of Makerere University banange mubaddeko nga mulaba. Thank you very much. Omuntu ayagala okubakulembera muwuliriza ne ideas ze zalina ffe tusuubira nti muyina kye muyize. Exams ziri around the corner. Bana be Makerere University bakyali waka mulina okola exam. You had something to say?
No, I just want to encourage us as we are doing our academics and everything, let's engage in other things. Let's get outside. There are many spaces outside. Let's engage in other things. You have skill, entrepreneurship skills, participate in them. Life is not only in academics. Life is in other things. Do other things outside academics. We have had a long period of lockdown. Hope we have engaged in many things. We have not been at campus. Let's keep engaging in many things. Now parents don't have money, so surely think about something that you can do that can earn you a living some way. That can help you to survive. Me, I do many things. I'm becoming, I think, a serious poultry farmer.
You do farming?
Yes, I do farming. I do serious agriculture. This year I was happy. I advanced from just rearing. Now I rear, I incubate chicken and what. So I'm engaged in that business largely. Do you allow
visitors to visit you at your farm?
Yes, I allow visitors, I allow customers, I allow everything.
Farm?
It's around Matuga.
It's around Matuga.
Yes.
You only do poultry farming?
So far I am doing poultry. And yes, I concentrate. I do poultry. I first concentrated in that such that I directed all my efforts in it. I do it. I carry out. I was lucky. I had saved some money. Now I purchased an incubation machine. So
now you're doing incubation at your farm?
Yes, I do it. I do it for myself, then sell out and keep for myself. So like we engage in other activities outside the academics, because academics will distinguish you, but we need to distinguish ourselves in other areas as well.
Abasomi students ako kabadde kalowoozo banange mufune ebyokukola ebikuyingiriza akasente nti omuzadde akuwadde tuition togenda musabaza coursework, togenda musaba upkeep, zo akasente kogenda kubanga okalina because obadde nga okola. Nze abavubuka
ekizibu ekirala nti oli alowooza kyasoma kyalina okukola kyennyini nnyini.
yensonga lwaki abavubuka obwavu butuluma nnyo nti ofunye degree yo from Makerere University bit Kyambogo oyo CU ate otuse eri mu job market nga emirimu tegiriyo
nebweba institute
nebweba institute abali ku waneno ku YMCA oyina ebipapula byobifunye otuse mu job market emirimu tegiriyo bannange abasomye bangi ate emirimu jo mitono abaana abafuluma mu universities all over the country bayitirivu naye ate emirimu egitondebwawo buli lunaku jo mitono ddala so temunyoma mirimu togamba mbuze nasoma journalism sobola kugenda sobola kulunda
sobola kulima
nze nabagamba omutwalo oli omuntu alongose ebifo bye mugenda okweyambira gwabayina n'omutwalo member wa parliament gwalina value eberemu zonna ziba sente ate guba mutwalo
zonna zisobola okugenda ku dduuka
nezigula ekintu so bannange muleme kunyooma mirimu mugende mukole mbereko ne sente y'omungalo bannaye Abbas is a good example. I do not know how God engeri gye yafunyemu vision yeyo n'agamba batulete Abbas mu studios kuba nti ye he's a student ekyenjawulo nti is visually impaired naye ate ayina n'emirimu akola ebintu bingi nnyo teyeetuddeeko taweddeemu suubi ye ali mu bintu everywhere yeetabidde mu bintu bino nga alinga omuntu kati gwe kiki ekikulemesa omuntu alinomo you have everything that is working kiki ekikulemesa muve mu kwetuulako bamikwano we bring you guests
n'okugamba nti government eriko teyina kyebayambi
negenda okuddako tegenda kuyamba njagala nkugambe kino gwe omuvubuka atulaba nga toyina kye weekoledde ne gavumenti egenda okuddako tegenda kuyamba gavumenti egenda okuddako erina okusanga ng'otambula ng'olina kyokozeewo so bakusporting nti gundi oli oba ogifunemu nti obadde ne bizinensi yo naye lwakuba lw'emisolo egiyitiridde ebadde tetambula so nti eneddako bwe naakolawo tax waiver osobole bizinensi yo esobole okuba nti etambula naye obanga okeera kutuula kushopinga omulimu gwo kushopinga movies
kusabiriza data
ng'otuula ewaka ng'olaba movie ne gavumenti eyo gyoyagala eddeko tegenda kuyamba era wonayo onoogibeera mu myaka 2-3 naye twali tusuubira yeemu nekoze eki nevuddeko abavubuka abali active mu politics tubagamba mugondera amateeka gavumenti gye mwagala ebasange nga muli balamu gondera amateeka abapoliisi tubagamba bannaye mukomye violence mukendeze ku bukambwe yesterday someone was engaging me in a discussion ngangamba enaku zino olaba campaign za Bobby Konze yes nzi following bulungi naye tolaba nti poliisi tekyakuba nnyo bantu ne ambuuza olowooza lwaki Konze ndowooza lw'okuba oli omuvubukani bwayo something gwe yali agenza okukavalinga Bobby Wine nga agenza okusaba munamawulire gwe baakuba on camera yene gwaniraga I think then wafuna hashtag any police brutality in Uganda nowooza poliisi ne tamuka ekigere ng'era babiri
n'abantu bennyini balekerawo okuprovoking abapoliisi oli ajja n'ekiyinja naga nange kandawo banankuba essaso oba banankuba akakebe katiya gas
naye poliisi mulekerawo ogiprovokinga olw'ensonga nti nabo bantu ate bo nabo banyiga Farida Bikobere gemanya agange nkoze ne omukyala Lilian Luwedde omukyala Elizabeth Musitwa yabadde mu control room nga akutemera ebifaananyi ate omwami Jeremiah Mukibi yabadde ku kamera abadde transport manager waffe tumusime kato mukwano we bali tuvuga bulungi gwakwatirira obulamu bwaffe nga tuli ku kkubo tukwebaza akensuso nti we bali kubeera sober everywhere we are on the road not causing accidents ate no minding abanno abalala ababa bali ku kkubo mukwano tojjanga okwo omwami Mukose Arnold Anthony yabadde nga atugamba mukwate wano mutambulire wano awo wabi oyo ye amanyi ekibuga era tugenda otambulira yo amakubo agamanyi bulungi nnyo agategeeza mukwano we bali nnyo we bali kola this is the mighty drive eberawo buli lunaku ssaawa emu mpaka ssaawa 3 Monday to Friday tulabagana olundi tulabagane ku Monday mwe bali mubadde balabi balungi have a nice weekend.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something.